Okay, welcome everyone. We are all set to go. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name's Michael Hirsch. With me, I'm joined by Jacob Bank, who's the founder and CEO of Relay.app. Jacob is going to be driving our demo for us today. I'll do a little bit of talking at the beginning, then I'll leave it to Jacob to show us all the good stuff, and I'll do a little bit of talking at the end to kind of wrap it all up. I'll monitor chat along the way if there's questions. But most importantly, folks, we'll be done by the bottom of the hour in the 30 minutes. That is our goal. I will stay online, I believe Jacob as well, for as long as there are questions. So by all means, I don't have to, we won't be turning this off after 30 minutes. We'll stick around as long as there are questions. All right, let's jump into this though. This is a sort of typical schedule that at least I used to experience, and maybe many of you also experience in what looks like from feature launch and this market reaction timeline. So from like day minus 30 to day 0, there's engineering and development, and then there's a handoff to QA, and then at some point there's a handoff to deployment. And on day 0, we ship, right? But for that first few days, sales team probably doesn't even know you shipped the new feature. And maybe you mention it in the second week in a weekly meeting you might have with sales. And maybe after a couple weeks, the first sort of bravest sales folks attempt their first demo. But frankly, after a couple of weeks, your competitors are already seeing that you've launched this and they're already starting to position against it. And you haven't made a single dollar of revenue off of this new feature. So think about this. I would kind of ask you all to think about your last feature release. How long was it from release to when sales could confidently demo it? So what ends up looking like is this blue line, right? Is we're creating all this value as we go through development, and it sort of peaks at ship. So we've created this tremendous value, but we don't get to capture that value, the green line, until sales starts getting out there and actually acting against it. But oftentimes we have this really long lag between value creation and value capture, and that's just a bunch of lost revenue. It's missed opportunity, and worse, it's giving your competition an advantage that you don't necessarily need to give them, right? Because it's time that they can catch up, and you're not activating against it. So most teams measure time to ship. I know a lot of the teams that I worked with in my career, that was what we measured. Smart teams, though, measure time to revenue. So what we're going to show today, I think this is my last slide before the demo. What we're going to show today is not just efficiency and automation, but this is sort of what I would call revenue automation. And so what's the difference, right? When we talk about doing things more efficiently, we want to get existing work done faster. We want to measure by how much time we save per task. For example, auto-generating status reports, right? Our impact is that the team gets more done with the same amount of time, right? And the value is we improve operations. Important. But revenue automation is all about accelerating value capture, right? We measure it by the revenue impact, either by the speed of revenue or the growth of revenue. For example, instant sales enablement, which is what we're going to show today. What is the impact? The company earns more revenue faster, and the value is a strategic competitive advantage. So both of these matter. They're very important, but only one of these directly impacts your company's competitive position in the market. And with that, I am going to stop sharing and turn it over to Jacob to walk us through this demo. I'll watch questions in the chat. Jacob, it's all yours.
Awesome. So here's the scenario. Uh, we use Linear internally for tracking our feature launches and also our issues. And the exact problem that Michael pointed out is a problem that we have, which is things get done and launched in Linear, and we don't have any process at the moment for turning those into marketing or sales enablement materials. So I want to show you is how you can build a pretty simple AI agent that will wake up whenever a new feature in a particular label is launched from Linear. And you could do the same thing in Jira or Asana or whatever your task or project management tool is. Then it's going to automatically generate a detailed sales enablement document, and it's going to send that over Slack to the sales channel. And then, Michael, you'll guide me kind of along the way for any specific things we want to call out, but let me show you the basic setup. So the first and most important part of any AI agent is the trigger. Does it wake up at the right time with the right data? Because we only want this we want this AI agent to wake up immediately every time a relevant feature launches. No more, no less, not sooner, not later. And so let me show you how to add that trigger. So like I mentioned, we use linear. And you can see that there's a bunch of different events that your agent can listen to in linear. It can listen to like when a new issue is added, or when an issue is changed, or when a label is added. In this case, we want an issue to first meet the condition of having been launched. So I'm going to click issue first meets conditioned. I'm going to select my team. And now I'm going to add two conditions to this. And you can see here's like a bunch of random bugs and issues that come up at the bottom. And I'm going to use this preview box to confirm that I've set my conditions correctly. One condition, I want to make sure this is in the right label because I don't want to, create sales enablement materials for every bug report. I only want to create sales enablement materials for the appropriate feature launches. And then number two, I want to make sure it's only happening when things are done. So the first condition I'm going to add is I'm going to have a label. And we have this label called new. We have a new features label and a new integrations label. And I'll use the new integrations label in this case, but you could do the same thing with new features. So this shows these are the 5 most recent integrations that have been given that label. None of these are launched, so these would not be the appropriate ones to do sales enablement material for. So now I need to add another condition that shows that they're actually done and that they're launched. So I'm going to click and I'm going to select status, and then status is done. And if you want to do this early, you could send out a notification when it's in alpha or dog food or whatever. And now you can actually see here are the last 5 integrations we've actually launched: Microsoft Excel, YouTube, WhatsApp, Google Meet, and OneDrive. So now I'm confident that I've set up these trigger filters correctly, so my AI agent will wake up at the right time. Now I need to do some AI. And what I'm going to ask my AI to do is I want it to write two things for me. Two things for me. One is a detailed Google document that's going to have like 2 to 3 pages of enablement materials, which should include target customers, target use cases, whatever else, Michael, you tell me to put in. And the second thing I want to produce is a short Slack message summary that we can include alongside the Google notification in the lightweight notification to the sales team over Slack. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add an AI step. And if you've not built these kind of workflows or agents before, you can think of your AI step like going into prompt ChatGPT. But I'm going to tell you a couple ways where it's similar to just writing a prompt in ChatGPT, and a couple ways where it's different. So first, in the top left here, you see this prompt box. This is just like the prompt that you would write into ChatGPT. So I'm going to say, given a new feature launch, please write 2 things. 1, a detailed Google document with sales enablement materials. 2, a concise Slack message with the key points of the document. So again, this is exactly any prompting techniques you've used in ChatGPT would apply equally well to this prompt box. You'd say, here's the things I want you to include in the salesman enablement material. Here's some more information about us and our business, etc. We're not going to do a ton of prompt engineering here because the idea here is just to show you kind of the framework and then you can write your own prompt. But this will look familiar to you from ChatGPT. The other thing that'll look familiar to you from ChatGPT is this model selector. And if you're a savvy user, you might know the differences between when you should use Claude Sonnet 4.5 or OpenAI's O3. In Relay, we try to default you to a model that makes sense based on your task. So if you're doing a writing task, we default to Claude Sonnet because we think that's the best writer. If you're doing an information extraction task, we default to Gemini, etc. So those 2 elements are going to be familiar to you. Now let me show you a couple things that may not be familiar to you. The first is I've told this prompt that I have a new feature launched, but I haven't actually given it access to the linear ticket that contains that feature launch. I need to give it access to the data that it needs to execute that prompt. And so you see I have a button here that says data from previous steps. That's how I give the AI access to the linear issue that triggered this workflow. So if I click data from previous steps, you see that I have the option to attach the issue. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the full content of the linear issue, the title, the description, etc., and it's going to put that into the prompt such that the AI model can use that for writing the materials I've asked for. We're not going to cover in this section tools and knowledge bases, but that's how you enable your AI to also access other corpora of knowledge you have, like Google Documents or spreadsheets or PDFs, or to call external tools like web search or looking up data in your CRM. Again, these are all super cool additions you could add to this. But for now, we'll keep it simple and just say we've got a prompt, we've got the data that the prompt needs, we've got a model, and then the last thing we need to select is what is the output we want to get here? Because when you're using AI in the context of a structured workflow or agent, what comes out of this step is going to need to go into a subsequent step. And in general, for a writing step, you want to have a single rich text field. But that's not actually one in this case, because in this case, I asked for two things. I asked for a Slack message, and then I also asked for the text of the Google document. So I'm going to change this to structured output. And when I change to structured output, the AI is going to generate for me what it thinks the right output should be. And you see, it's generated two things. It's generated a rich text Google document and a text Slack message. Now, I'm kind of an expert in our tool, so I know that I actually want our Slack message to be rich text too. So I'm going to say, please output both in rich text, use formatting, bullets, emoji, etc. for readability. And you'll see that once I finish typing that, the AI is going to reanalyze my prompt, and it has now changed the Slack message to rich text. Because most of us are not really comfortable fiddling with JSON objects and types and outputs. And so my preferred technique is always write really good instructions in the prompt, let the AI figure out what output structure I want, and then just double check that it looks like what I want. So now I feel pretty good. I've got a rich text Slack message and a rich text Google Doc. At this point, all the AI is going to do, it's going to produce those outputs for me. I still need to do something with them. In this case, I need to create a Slack message. I need to create a Google Doc. And I'm going to create the Google Doc first because I want the Slack message to include the link to the Google Doc. So I'm going to hit done on this AI step. And now I'm going to create a Google Doc. Or I'm not. I'm going to tell my AI agent to create a Google Doc and to use the output of what it wrote in step 2 into that Google Doc. So I'm going to press plus again. And this time I'm just going to type create doc, and you'll see that under Google Docs, there's an option to create a document. You need to specify which folder you want to put it in. I'm just going to put it in my drive. Then you need to give it a title. So I'm going to say sales, enablement, and then I'm going to include this kind of cool. In the title of the Google document, I can reference information from the linear ticket. So I'm going to reference the title of the linear ticket so that I know that it's the sales enablement for this particular issue. And then in the content field, I don't have to write the document because the AI already wrote it for me. I just need to take the output of the AI step and put that into the content field. And the way I'm going to do that, I can do it one of two ways. I can either press the @ key or I can click this data button. And that's going to give me access to the data that was produced in previous steps in the workflow. So in this case, you see in the content field by pressing the data button, I can either access the fields of the linear issue, or I can access the outputs of what the AI step produced in step 2. And in this case, I want the output of the AI step. And in particular, I want the Google document with sales enablement material. So I'm going to click that. And now my Google document creation step is fully configured. It's going to get a title and it's going to get content. Now, last but not least, I want to actually send this over Slack to the sales team. So now I'm going to type Slack. That's going to show me all the Slack options we have. And in this case, I want to send a message. I want to send a message from the Relay bot. I could also send it from myself. I want to send it to a channel. We have a sales channel that's appropriate for this. And guess what I want to include in the Slack message? I want to include the message that the AI wrote for me in step 2. So I'm going to use the exact same technique. I'm going to press the @ key. I'm going to hover over Write with AI. Write with AI, again, is the name of step 2, and hovering over that allows me to access the output of what step 2 produced. I'm going to select concise Slack message with key points. And then I'm also going to add one more thing to this. I also want the link to the Google Doc. So I'm going to say link to full enablement doc. And then I'm going to linkify that. And again, you can see in our linkification menu, I don't have to hard code a document. I can use the link to the document that was created in step 3. So I'm going to press this plus button. I'm going to hover over the document that was created in step 3. And if I scroll down, you'll see I can link directly to the document URL. I went pretty fast because this is a 30-minute lightning lesson, but let me just remind you of everything I've created here. So first, I set up a trigger that is going to automatically wake up my AI agent when the following happens. when one of the issues in my linear project that has the label new integration and status is done. So whenever a new integration launches, this AI agent is going to wake up. First, I've asked the AI based on the data from this issue, the title, the description, etc. I've asked it to write two things: a detailed Google document and a concise Slack message. And now, again, maybe now that we're here, we can write a couple more lines of guidance for what should be in this enablement document. I'm going to say our product is relay.app, an AI agent building tool. In the enablement materials, please focus on the types of customers that would benefit from this feature and suggested use cases. Again, if you're doing this for real, you'd write a much more detailed prompt, but this should get us something pretty decent. Now I'm gonna hit done on my AI step. You'll see that when I redid that AI step, I forgot to turn off auto generate, so it renamed the output field. So now I need to quickly fix the output fields with the Google Doc and the Slack message. There we go. Okay, so now that I've had the AI write this document and this Slack message, I'll just turn that off so it doesn't mess with it again if I'm prompting again. The AI is going to create a Google Doc and it's going to send a message to the sales channel. So now I'm going to start a test run. I always recommend testing before you turn your agent on. In my experience, and I build a lot of these, I've almost never had an AI agent work perfectly the first time. So let's see what happens with this one. Let's do the Microsoft Excel integration. I think that'll be an interesting one for sales enablement. So when you start a test run, you can see step by step what the AI is doing. So far, I've just started the test run, and I can inspect the details of the issue. You can see that the title is Microsoft Excel. The description is feature parity with Google Sheets, priority medium, etc. So there's not a ton of data in here. In the comment stream, there is some data about what customers asked for about it. Again, if you were doing this internally, you might have a much richer description in your Jira Epic or ticket or whatever of what's going on. And now Claude 4 Sonnet is writing the two documents. Excuse me. It's writing the two rich text objects that I asked it to write. One is going to be the Google Doc, and the other is going to be the Slack message. And that usually thinks for about 30 seconds. So let me check the the chat and see if there's any comments.
There was one question in there here that asked about, here is it. If I build things out in Claude Workbench, can I use that agent via an API key or something in Relay?
You can connect your Claude API to Relay, and it will bill your Claude account. Unfortunately, Claude projects and related features are not exposed via the API. And so my recommendation in that case is we have a knowledge feature in Relay that is very similar to the knowledge connectors that underlie Claude projects. So what I recommend doing is creating Google Docs or spreadsheets with your knowledge base, and then you can connect those to both Claude and Relay. So if you change the Google Doc, you don't have to go update it in both knowledge bases. Okay, so now the AI has written the two things I asked for. It created the document and sent a Slack message. Let's first look at the document. Here's the sales enablement document. Honestly, this is pretty good. It's like amazingly good. We just launched Microsoft Excel for complete feature parity to our existing Google Sheets functionality, enables agents to read, write, and manipulate Excel files seamlessly within automatic workflows. This is targeting enterprise organizations, financial services, manufacturing, and then other mid-market companies. Suggested use cases: financial reporting and analysis, inventory and operations management, lean and customer data processing, multi-platform workflow automation. Here are the competitive advantages of Relay versus the alternatives. Are these customers are likely to consider? Here's some talking points, some value statements, some objection handling, pricing and packaging guide. Like, again, with a very simple prompt, my claim is that this is incredibly good, like incredibly impressive. Again, you could go through and write a more detailed prompt to focus you could give it a knowledge base of your existing customers. You could do a bunch to make it better, but the fact that we were able to do this in like 14 minutes is pretty amazing. It would have taken a typical PM, many hours to write a document that good. And now let's also look at the Slack message, and I can show it to you directly in Slack, actually. Let me just open up Slack in a new tab. Boop-a-doo. Welcome back. Launch my Slack. And we'll go to my sales channel. Let's see, where's the sales channel? Boop-a-doo. Sales channel, sales channel, sales channel. Sales channel. There we go. Okay. New feature launch, Microsoft Excel integration. We just showed key customer targets, top use case to pitch, opens up massive enterprise opportunity. Most logics are still Excel first. Full sales materials in the linked document below. And then it links to that enablement document. Um, so that's the end of the demo. Of course, you could expand upon this in many ways. You could have AI write a blog post for you. You could have AI identify which target accounts. You could have it write sales scripts for those individual target accounts using the exact same techniques we just showed. But hopefully, this 15 minutes opened your mind a little bit to what's possible and how good these AI writing models are.
As well. So make sure that
Oh,
the
so if
intellectual
you can mute.
property.
There we go. I did it for them. Amazing. Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, for almost no prompt. I was blown away by what you were able to produce there, or what the AI was able to produce there, I should say. And just a few things to maybe add some color commentary. Yes, there was some. This was an automation and a productivity enhancement, but if the way I used to do things, it was a new feature launched, then I'd send an email, then there'd always be sales questions, then there'd be maybe some sales training, and I mean it was a whole thing, and it was days if I was lucky and weeks more likely. And now what just happened is the moment the engineer flipped the
Yeah,
done.
and again, this is just the starting point. You
Yeah,
could just as easily have your AI agent create a calendar event and invite the right people to it. You could like this is just showing you the technique of creating a context-aware AI step that exists in the context of an agent. But
yep,
this is like the 15-minute starting point. You could make this much more robust and elaborate.
absolutely. Yeah, if you have different sales teams for different segments, you could have it only send it to the segment that's relevant, right? So
Yep.
that the other segments aren't getting the noise, and things like that. I mean, incredible. Thank you. All right, let me just land this real quick. So we just did a quick little revenue architecture agent, and maybe just to recap, there's four sort of really important pieces to this, right? There was this intelligent trigger, which didn't just knows when value is created, not just something happened, right? We fixed a bug. That's not interesting. We launched a new feature that is interesting. It extracted content, right? So it knew what was important, whether it was segment or impact or audience. And again, we did just a limited bit. We could do a lot more with a little bit more time. Asset generation, it created what sales needed to know, not what engineering wrote, right? So it didn't just send the details of the ticket, it sent sales material. It sent ways to engage customers, how to demo, things like that. And last but not least, it routed to who needs it, not everyone, right? It just sent to salespeople. It went just to the sales channel, or if we wanted to send it to just a segment or a certain sales team or a region or things like that. And so most teams, right, today automate this distribution piece, right? They're getting pretty good at that. But smart teams build all four of these things, right? And that's kind of the difference between what I would call just simply notification and actual enablement, right? Actually mobilizing sales to act on the material and the information you're providing. And I'm just another visual way of showing. Typically ship about 3 weeks before sales is enabled, if you're lucky, and then that's when revenue starts. Let's just do it on the same day, right? Let's just get sales ready on the same day. And so your savvy salespeople will see that Slack message, quickly read the Google Doc, and be ready to talk about it in the sales meeting they're about to have, or that they have later that day, or the call they're going to make, or they'll reach out to their accounts. This level of intelligent, instant coordination was not really possible before AI. And so this is something that's new, something that we can do now today with the advent of AI and really good AI models that are good at writing. Your competitors, hopefully, are still doing this manually. And so that 3-week window is yours to take. Um, a word of caution, maybe? Don't automate chaos. If your current process is chaotic, don't just automate the current process, because now you're just automating chaos, right? So if you don't have a process, build it first manually, learn the pattern, make sure it works, right? If you do have a process, look for where you've already got some coordination bottlenecks, okay? If it's working manually, is it working manually? If it's not working manually, fix it before you automate it, okay? And if it is working manually, Well, automation is going to scale that success, not failure. I often say that AI is a force multiplier. It doesn't care whether it's good force or bad force. It's just going to multiply. And so in this case, we wanted to multiply a good, successful manual process. Where's the revenue leak? Find the gap between value creation and value capture, and that's where your automation has strategic impact. Start with one painful coordination problem that costs you revenue, solve it, and expand, rinse and repeat. AI isn't a skill you can learn later. It's a leadership differentiator you need now. So just a quick plug, and then I'll be done for questions. My course on Maven, Build an AI Confident Product Team. There's a testimonial there. This allows you to position yourself as an AI strategy leader, on and on. I've got cohorts starting in October, December, and January. The next cohort starts in 2 weeks. There's a promo code there. That QR code will link to the sign up page with the promo code as well. Whoops, wrong button. There we go. Let me also mention, really important, Jacob, thank you. Really, really appreciate your time on this. Relay.app, that's where you can go and get access to the amazing tool that Jacob and his team have built. YouTube.com, their Relay channel has tons and tons of videos, how-tos, do it yourself.
If you like that demo, I've done about 150 of them on our YouTube channel for all sorts of use cases. Oh, and one more quick teaser I forgot to mention, Michael. If you've heard about MCP, Model Context Protocol, but are curious what it means, what it is, how to use it, I'm doing a class on that tomorrow. Free class on that tomorrow, actually at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. So would love to see anyone there. I'll put the sign up link in the chat.
Awesome. Please. Thank you. Folks, I'll also send an email out later today with the recording, and I'll include all these links. The links for here, the link that Jacob puts in. Jacob's LinkedIn profile is there as well, where he posts a tremendous amount of all this content. This is one of the things I love about Relay, and I love about working with Jacob, is all the content he produces. It's just absolutely amazing. That's it. I'll leave this slide up for a minute or two if you want that QR code, and let's go to questions. All right. Let's see where, here's my chat window. If while I'm scrolling through this, if you have a question and you want to unmute and ask, go for it. And I'm looking through here. Does new Claude respond better to a different prompting style, or are you seeing success with the same prompts as earlier versions?
Yeah, so Claude 4.5 Sonnet literally came out yesterday. I have not noticed. I've only tested it for maybe half an hour. I've not noticed a material difference in prompting style to get good output from Claude Sonnet 4, Claude Sonnet 4.5. Another caveat to that is my general technique is very, very, very simple prompts with pretty good data and context around them. And so that if you have that same technique, which again works for my use case, may not work for your use cases, you tend to be pretty robust to changes in models.
Awesome. This is a comment, but I love it. Truly amazing. Makes strategic automation fun to iterate. Having worked with GTM leaders, this is pure gold. Love it. Somebody asked if you can give a link to the already set up workflow, in which Jacob immediately replied with the link. So in the chat is a link to an importable template of what Jacob just built. I'll also include that in the email. Let's see.
Oh, can I answer the question about security and privacy? I think that's a
Please.
super important one.
Yep.
And it's not specific to Relay, but to any AI automation workflow or agent tool. Any one of these tools, if they're going to do work on your behalf, they need access to the data in your SaaS tools. And that typically comes with a mechanism called OAuth authentication. You've probably seen it if you ever connected any of your tools to another tool, you get a little pop-up that says related app would like access to your linear. Here's the thing it needs, here's the things it needs access to. If you want your AI agent to do work on your behalf, you need to give it access to the underlying data. Let me tell you what I think people are worried about, but shouldn't be worried about, but are less worried about, but should be more worried about. The thing people are really worried about are like, is my vendor going to get hacked? Or are they going to share my data with a model provider? Or are they going to have a data leak? There are like almost zero. Like, of course, there are high profile data links, but that is in practice, I don't think a relevant concern that most businesses should be worried about, unless you know have some super specific regulatory or security environment needs. Every major tool in our category, including Related App, is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant and has like all the best data handling and security best practices. The way bigger thing you need to think about is you've now given the AI agent the power to create tickets in your linear. If that AI agent wields that power in a chaotic way, it will create thousands of garbage tickets, or it will send thousands of bad emails to the wrong customers. And so if I were you, I would, yes, make sure every vendor is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, make sure they have the right privacy policies, make sure they have the right security policies. We and all of our competitors check all those boxes. Like I have my own Zapier account, I have my own N account. I'm happy giving my data to any of them. I think they're great stewards of data. What I think you really need to think about is when you're building these agents, how do you give yourself the trust and control that they're going to do what you expect? And there's two mechanisms to do that. One is you build your workflow carefully such that after, you make sure that the send email step is a structured individual step after the AI step. And then second, you can add human in the loop verification before anything happens.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And I'm glad you touched on the SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. I think that's huge. Yeah, no, that's great. What's the best way to manage AI credit usage in Relay.app? Is there a way to report on AI credit usage or see trends over time?
So we don't have great functionality for like seeing trends and reports over time. This is actually something we're actively working on. So soon you're going to be able to see dashboards of how your steps and credits have performed over time and in which use cases. So we do want to do that. On the other hand, my overarching point is the same as David's, which is I was talking to a customer a couple weeks ago and they were like, "Oh man, our competitive research report using so many AA credits, it's using like 400 credits a week. Like, how do we get it to use fewer credits?" And you can use fewer credits by choosing a cheaper model or using fewer tokens. But then I was like, 400 credits, that's like 50 cents. Like if this was valuable to anyone on your team, like for even a moment of time, it's probably worth it. So Matt, I don't want to paper over your question because we are going to enable you to have better visibility and control into what's going on with AI, of course. But I think the overarching point that's right is David's, which is like, is this thing valuable at all? And if it's valuable at all, it's like well worth the cost.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. How would the human review aspect take place? For example, email to a customer, can I set up to have a draft saved in Gmail for me to review and send? Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, Kevin, I love this question. There are three different ways you can add human review, and I'm going to show you each of them. The first, let me just share my screen again.
Go for it.
The first is within an individual AI step, you can add a human review within the context of that AI step. So you see where it says human review, should a person review the AI? I could change that from no to yes. And what that means is after the AI has written that those two messages, it's going to present them to me and I'm going to have three options. I can approve them, I can edit them manually, or I can send a refinement prompt and say, no, 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 focus more on this target customer or focus more on this feature. That's option one in the context of the AI step. Option two is you can have a top level human in the loop step where, for example, I want to approve this set of messages before the document is created or the Slack message is sent. That's option two. And then number three is the one that you mentioned. In certain products, not all products, but in some products, you have a draft object, like an email draft or a ticket draft or something. And then you can have your AI agent always create things in draft. So those are sort of like three levels of defense in depth that you can use depending on the kind of human in the loop that's appropriate. And I use all three mechanisms for different use cases.
Perfect. Thank you. This is a good one. Can you add human in the loop, say every 50 to check in, a bit like how Chip and
Oh,
Pin
Sarah,
uses to verify?
this is a super cool idea. The way I do this is I prefer not to do it randomly every 50. What I do is I ask the AI to output how good of a job it thinks it did. AIs are actually pretty good at introspecting of how good of a job it did. And if the AI doesn't think it did a good job, I add a human in the loop. So that's like my preferred technique. But yeah, you could totally have a random number that says 1 in 50, you spot check it.
Excellent. Love it. We've caught up on questions in the chat. Any other questions? Either put them in chat or unmute yourself, folks. We still have some people on the line. A good amount of people.
Well, thanks everyone for joining. I hope this was really fun and really valuable. Again, play with that template I shared in the chat. If you have any questions, you've got my LinkedIn. email me, jacob@relay.app, and I'm here to help.
Uh, awesome,
Oh, one
Jacob.
more question from Sharon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there it is. I am
Okay,
so new to this. Do you prefer N8N, Make, or Zapier?
so I can answer this question. So Related App, the tool that I use for the demo, which is the tool that I work on, is of course my preference. But let me give you a more unbiased answer of why you might choose each of those tools. If you are technically capable, like I'm gonna tell you a sentence and you tell me how comfortable you are with the sentence. Yeah, all you have to do is parse the JSON object out of the webhook trigger, extract the ID from it, and then generate another HTTP request. If you're very comfortable with that sentence, you're probably gonna have a good time with N8N. N8N is a technical person's tool. It's open source, it's self-hosted. You should know how to write code to use N8N. Very, very good tool for that audience. If you want the no one got fired for buying IBM tool that integrates with every player in the market, then Zapier, I think, is the right choice for you. If you're new to this and you want the simplest and most intuitive starting point, that's what we aim for Related App to be. I don't have any good arguments about why you should use make.com at the moment, unfortunately. Like, nothing against them. I just think like you should either use Relay or Zapier or N8N. I haven't been in a situation where I've recommended make.com to a user for the last several months because either if you're technical enough to use make, you can probably use N8N and it's more flexible and cheaper. If you're not technical enough to use make, then you probably need to use Zapier or Relay.
I totally agree with this, by the way. I've tried all of those. The reason I love Relay, and I don't work for Relay, is every time the first time I did it, it worked. It was easy. I figured it out. I had some questions. I would go to the Slack channel, get answers. Incredibly easy to use, incredibly approachable, and incredibly powerful. Like integrates with everything I use. And then the second reason is just all the content that Jacob creates, all the videos, right? So it's like if I have an idea, I'll just go and search, and more than likely, there's a video of Jacob doing it. So I can just follow along and watch. Uh,
Oh, and I saw one more question pop in. What is an AI tool that I like that I don't build? And I have to give a shout out to Nano Banana here. I know it's a couple weeks old already now, but Nano Banana, also known as Gemini 2.5 Flash image generation, for me was a huge leap forward over the other image generation models because the image generation models previously were all very good at like cinematic imagery, but most of the imagery I need is functional imagery. I need webinar posters. I need like ad copies. I need like bits of text on nice image backgrounds. And so Nano Banana is really good at creating those functional images. It can actually put text in and spell it right. You can give it an image template and then it can update just the text in that template. So that's been huge for a bunch of my like webinar poster creation workflows and stuff like that. It's really, really good.
awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Any tips for engaging users to provide feedback quickly?
That's a broad question. Maybe what I would start with is like maybe it's in the theme of this demo. Like, I recommend that every company keep a list of like alpha friendly users, and send stuff to them first. And then, yeah, Daniel, we've also had pretty good luck with like random points and prizes. Like, hey, give us feedback on this thing and you get a hat, or or in our case, because we have a usage-based product, like post a nice thing about us on LinkedIn and you get some bonus steps or AI credits.
Yeah, people will do amazing things for free stuff. Surprisingly, right? I've hosted sort of these networking lunches, and 2 to 3x people show up when somebody's paying for it.
Yeah. Well, thanks all for joining. Thanks, Michael, for hosting. This was super fun. And you know where to find us if you have any questions or
Yep.
comments.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Ooh, sorry, there's a question. I'm going to stick around here for a second. Sarah, could we have a microphone to dictate into Relay? Yeah. So Jacob types. I tend to talk, especially when it comes to AI. There's a few out there. The one I'm using right now is called Whisper Flow, I think. Before that, I was using Better Dictation. So there are some tools out there that basically, yeah, so if you're using Whisper, then you could, maybe this isn't your question then, Sarah, you could, dictate the AI prompt because it was just a text field. So you would just sort of hold down your hotkey for that and then talk to it. Does that answer your question, Sarah, or is there something else? Okay, good. That answered the question. There's also whisper flow or super whisper hotkey. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly right. If any of you out there aren't using voice to instruct AI, I highly recommend it. I've never been a voice to text fan. I think it's sort of awkward and it never really worked all that great. The only time I ever really used it was texting in the car while driving, right? For safety reasons. However, uh, for two reasons, I swear by it now. One, the models have gotten incredibly good, where they're very, very good at getting highly accurate conversion of voice to text. And the second reason is talking with your AI is a much more natural way. I find that if you just talk to it, you will provide a lot more context, a lot more information in just kind of a brain dump. Now, the brain dump doesn't work when you're using it to dictate an email, which is why I was never a fan of it. But the brain dump works extremely well with an AI prompt because the AI prompt doesn't care if it's a little bit scattered or if you said one thing and then something else, right? The AI prompt will take, the AI model will take it all. And so the more information you can provide, the better results you'll get in terms of response from AI, which is why I almost always prompt using voice. Yeah, key insight there. Brain dump with voice, no structure. Yeah, exactly, right? Para speech runs locally if you don't want to use cloud. That's good to know. Awesome. Yeah, one of the things in my course, I encourage all the students to do is if they don't already have a good voice texting tool, is install one because it's incredible. It's game changing in my opinion with how you interact with AI and with the results you get back. Uh, had to upgrade a Claude Max yesterday. Yeah, I've been flirting with that. But yeah, voice prompting is much better for context. Yeah. Any other questions? We got a few folks lingering. You can unmute, you can type. I'll stick around for another minute or two. Mac Tahoe. I haven't tried native the Tahoe native speech to text. Is it good? They've had speech to text for a while and in other versions I thought prior to it. But I've never really used them. Ah, okay, so maybe this is the first time now they're actually putting some AI intelligence behind it. Okay, as opposed to kind of previous, which were more just sort of straight dictation. Um, Uh, you know, let me just give you some advice here. This debate on kind of which is the best voice to text to use. Look, this I find this with every AI tool that you want to do something and there's 12 tools that'll do it for you. Tomorrow there'll be a new one, and the next day one of the other ones that wasn't good will upgrade. And it's absolutely you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what to use. My recommendation: find one that works and stick with it for a while. And then only, many months later, look to maybe change or upgrade if you feel like it's not working for you. You can spend your entire life trying to chase after all the latest and greatest updates, and the the returns on that are microscopic, I think. Every tool is personal preference. Yeah. Okay. All right. Folks, I think that's about it. I'll send the email out with all the links. Thank you again for attending. Thank you for your time, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care.